The villa in Santorini was everything the photographs promised. White marble gleaming in the Mediterranean sun, infinity pool bleeding into the cerulean horizon, bougainvillea cascading down walls like waterfalls of fuchsia and crimson. I stood on the terrace, champagne flute trembling in my hand, staring at the empty space where my husband should have been. My phone buzzed. Another message from Marcus.
Sorry, babe.
Emergency at work. You understand. Enjoy the trip. We'll reschedule. As if our 10th anniversary was a dentist appointment. As if the trip I'd planned for 8 months, the villa I'd saved for, the romantic dinners I'd booked, the couple's spa treatments, the sunset sailing excursion, could simply be rescheduled like ordering takeout on a different night. I looked down at my suitcase, still packed. At the silk negligee I'd bought specifically for tonight, folded on top with tissue paper and hope. At the envelope containing a handwritten letter I'd spent weeks perfecting, confessing how much these 10 years had meant to me, how grateful I was for the life we'd built together. The champagne tasted like ash in my mouth. That's when I saw it, a notification on my iPad, still connected to Marcus's iCloud because we'd always shared everything. A photo upload. My finger hovered over it, some instinct already whispering danger. The image loaded. Marcus. On a beach. The Maldives, judging by the distinctive overwater bungalows in the background. His arm around Sienna, his 26-year-old assistant. Both of them tanned, laughing, wearing matching resort bracelets. The timestamp. 3 hours ago. Not at work. Not dealing with an emergency. In paradise. With her. I set down the champagne very carefully, watching my hand move as if it belonged to someone else. The glass made a soft clink against a marble table, such a delicate sound for the moment my entire world detonated. Then I started laughing. Deep, gasping laughs that bent me double, tears streaming down my face. The kind of laughter that's indistinguishable from sobbing, because it's actually both. A honeymoon couple on the neighboring terrace glanced over, concerned. I waved at them, still laughing, still breaking, still becoming someone I didn't recognize. I'm fine, I called out. Just received the best news. And in a strange way I had. Because in that moment of crystalline agony, I made a decision. The old me, the dutiful wife, the understanding partner, the woman who always put Marcus's career first, who swallowed her own ambitions, who made herself smaller to make him feel bigger. That woman died on a terrace in Santorini at 6:47 p.m. on a Tuesday in June. Someone new was being born, and she was going to make this a year Marcus would never forget. 3 months earlier. Let me take you back to when I was still Audrey Chen, 34 years old, senior partner at Chen & Associates architecture firm, a company I'd built from scratch after graduating top of my class from Columbia. When people asked about work-life balance, I'd laugh and say I didn't believe in balance, I believed in integration. The truth was simpler. I'd integrated my life entirely around Marcus. We'd met at a charity gala when I was 24, him 27. He was already making waves in finance, vice president at Blackstone Capital, charming every room he entered with his Princeton polish and sharp wit. I was the scholarship kid who'd clawed her way up, still uncomfortable in cocktail dresses, still surprised when people took my business cards seriously. You're going to change skylines, he told me that first night, those green eyes locked on mine with an intensity that made my stomach flip. I can see it. You've got that hunger. He made me feel seen, exceptional, possible. We married within a year. And slowly, incrementally, I began making myself smaller. It started innocently. Missing a client dinner because Marcus's firm was hosting investors. Turning down a project in Dubai because Marcus couldn't take time off. Hiring a junior partner to handle the LA expansion because Marcus thought I was traveling too much. Choosing a smaller apartment in his preferred neighborhood instead of the penthouse I'd wanted near my office. Small compromises, I told myself. That's what marriage is. But looking back now, I could see the pattern. How my ambitions got filed under someday. How his career was our priority. How I became the supporting actress in my own life story. The Santorini trip was supposed to be different. A decade milestone. A reset. I'd been planning it obsessively, needing it to mean something, to prove we still had what we'd started with. 3 months before our anniversary, I'd walked into our apartment with fabric swatches for a major museum project, my biggest commission yet, and found Marcus on the couch, tie loosened, looking at his phone. "Guess what?" I'd said, unable to contain my excitement. "The Modern Art Museum board approved my designs. They want to break ground in September. This could be the project that defines my career." "That's great, babe." He didn't look up. "Listen, I need to talk to you about something." "Can it wait?" "I want to celebrate. I was thinking we could go to that Italian place you love." "I'm taking on the Henderson account." He finally met my eyes. "It's going to require significant travel over the next year. Tokyo, London, Singapore. Sometimes for weeks at a time." The fabric swatches suddenly felt heavy in my hands. "But September is when construction starts. I'll need you here for the groundbreaking, the press coverage. And I'll be there for that. But Audrey, this account could make me managing director. We're talking about a guaranteed 7-figure salary, plus bonuses. Think about what that means for us. For our future." Our future. Always framed as collective, but somehow his career was always the one that mattered most. "What about Santorini?" I asked quietly. "Our anniversary trip is in 12 weeks. Of course I'll be there for that." He stood, kissed my forehead. "I promise. Nothing's more important than us celebrating 10 years. I wanted to believe him. I needed to believe him. So I did. The lie about Santorini came 3 days before departure. Emergency client meeting. Tokyo. Critical. Unavoidable. His voice on the phone was smooth, practiced, apologetic. "Take the trip anyway," he'd urged. "Relax. You've been stressed with the museum project. Use the time to decompress." I should have known then. The too smooth explanation. The encouraging me to go without him. The way he'd already solved the problem before I could protest. But I'd been too busy being disappointed to be suspicious. Now, standing on that terrace, staring at the photo of Marcus and Sienna in the Maldives, the pieces assembled themselves with brutal clarity. I pulled up our shared calendar. Marcus had blocked off the week as Tokyo business trip. But I opened his credit card statement. He'd added me as an authorized user years ago and never removed my access. And there they were. Charges from Mail International Airport. 4 Seasons Maldives Resort. Couples diving excursion. Romantic beachfront dinner. My hands shook as I scrolled further back. More charges. A jewelry store. Cartier love bracelet. Purchased 4 months ago. Not the one currently on my wrist. I'd bought that myself for our anniversary. Hotel rooms in Miami during his Chicago conference. Lingerie boutique purchases in sizes nothing like mine. How long? How fucking long had this been happening while I smiled through his lies, prioritized his needs, celebrated his promotions? I called my best friend, Leah. She answered on the first ring. "How's paradise?" Her voice was bright, excited for me. "He's not here." My voice sounded strange, flat. "He's in the Maldives with his assistant." Silence. Then, "Oh, Audrey. Oh, God. What do you need?" "Information." I was already moving, pulling out my laptop. "I need you to do something for me. Call his office tomorrow. Say you're a potential client. Ask for Marcus specifically. Record whatever they tell you." "Audrey. Please. I need to know how deep this goes." She called the next morning. I listened to the recording 3 times. "I'm so sorry," the receptionist had said, "but Mr. Thorne is on vacation this week. Would you like to speak with another advisor?" Vacation. He'd told his office he was on vacation. Not a business trip. He'd planned this. Coordinated it. Chose the Maldives specifically because it was nowhere near Greece, nowhere I might randomly discover him. I sat on the terrace of my empty villa, watching the sun set over Santorini, and felt something cold and crystalline form in my chest where my heart used to be. Marcus thought I was the kind of woman who'd cry and forgive, who'd make it easy for him, who'd shrink even smaller to try to win him back. He was about to discover he'd been married to a stranger all along. I stayed in Santorini for the full week. Not to mourn, but to plan. On day 2, I went to the spa alone and let them pamper me for 6 hours. Facial, massage, body wrap, hair treatment. I studied myself in the mirror afterward, really looked, and realized I hadn't actually seen myself in years. I'd been viewing myself through Marcus's eyes, as his accessory, his wife, his reflection. The woman looking back at me was strong, intelligent, capable of extraordinary things. I'd just been aiming all that power in the wrong direction. On day 3, I called my lawyer, Dominic Rivers. We'd worked together on several commercial real estate deals. He was sharp, discreet, and had a reputation for being absolutely ruthless when necessary. I need you to prepare divorce papers, I told him from my villa terrace. But don't file them yet. May I ask why the delay? Because I'm going to need leverage first, and I'm going to need you to help me get it. Over the next hour, I outlined my situation. The shared accounts, the business interests, the brownstone we'd purchased together, though I'd put down 60% of the down payment from my own savings, something I could prove. The investment properties. New York is an equitable distribution state, Dominic reminded me. But if you can prove fault and financial misconduct, that's what I'm counting on. On day 4, I met with a private investigator I'd found through encrypted online channels. Former FBI, now independent, specialized in infidelity cases. Her name was Katerina Volkov, and she had silver hair and eyes that missed nothing. We sat at a cafe overlooking the caldera. She listened to everything, took notes, asked pointed questions. "How far do you want me to go?" she asked finally. "Far enough that I have documentation of everything. Every hotel room. Every gift. Every lie. I want dates, times, locations. Credit card receipts. I want to know exactly how long this has been going on, and how much of our money he's spent on her. And what will you do with this information?" I sipped my coffee, watching sailboats, the horizon like white petals on blue silk. I'm going to build a case so airtight that when I walk away, I take everything I've earned and half of what he hasn't. Then I'm going to rebuild my life exactly the way I want it, without making myself smaller for anyone. Katerina smiled. It wasn't a kind smile. "I like you. Give me 3 weeks." On day 5, I had lunch with a couple I'd met at the villa, James and Priya, celebrating their 15th anniversary. They asked where my husband was, and instead of lying, I told them the truth. Not for sympathy, but because I was practicing my story, learning how to say it without crying. Priya took my hand. "What are you going to do?" "I'm going to become the woman I should have been all along." James nodded slowly. "My sister went through something similar. She said the hardest part wasn't leaving, it was forgiving herself for staying so long." Those words burrowed into me and stayed there. On day 6, I toured Santorini alone, visited the archaeological sites, watched the sunset from Oahu with hundreds of other tourists, ate at romantic restaurants, unbothered by the pitying glances at my empty table. I was learning how to be alone without being lonely, how to enjoy my own company. I posted photos on Instagram, carefully curated shots of the villa, the sunset, my morning coffee on the terrace. No captions about Marcus. No indication anything was wrong. Let everyone think we were living our best life. Let him think I knew nothing. On day 7, I flew home. Marcus was there to pick me up at JFK, flowers in hand, looking tan and guilty, and trying to hide both. "Welcome home, babe. I missed you so much. How was Greece?" I kissed him, took the flowers, smiled. "It was transformative," I said. "Absolutely transformative." For the next 3 months, I became the wife Marcus had always wanted. Attentive, supportive, interested in his work. I cooked his favorite meals, laughed at his jokes, initiated sex, attended his work functions, and charmed his colleagues. I was perfect, and while I played the perfect wife, I was systematically preparing for war. Katerina delivered her report in week 3. It was even worse than I'd imagined. The affair with Sienna had been going on for 14 months. But she wasn't the first. There'd been 2 others before her over the past 4 years. Brief things, Katerina assured me, probably meaningless. As if that made it better. Marcus had spent over $200,000 on his affairs. Gifts, trips, hotel rooms. Money that had come from our joint accounts I'd contributed to significantly. Money I'd earned through 80-hour work weeks and sacrificed projects was being spent on women who weren't me. I read the report 3 times. Memorized every detail. Felt nothing. That scared me a little, the nothing. But Leah assured me it was normal. "You're in survival mode," she said over wine at my apartment while Marcus was working late. "The feelings will come later. Right now, your brain is protecting you." I don't want the feelings to come. I like this version of me. She's efficient. Focused. Not weighed down by sentiment. "Audrey, you're scaring me a little." "Good. I'm scaring myself too. But I'm also getting things done." And I was. While playing the devoted wife, I was also documenting everything. Every late night at work. Every business trip. Every lie, cataloged and cross-referenced with Katerina's findings. Securing my assets. I opened separate bank accounts Marcus didn't know about. Transferred money, carefully, incrementally, nothing large enough to trigger alerts. Moved my emergency fund, my inheritance from my grandmother, my personal savings. Protecting my business. Chun and Associates was mine, built before the marriage, but I had Dominic review every document to ensure Marcus had no claim to it. Restructured my partnership agreements. Created legal barriers. Building my new life. I found an apartment in Tribeca, signed a lease, paid 6 months in advance. Furnished it slowly with pieces I chose, colors I loved, art that spoke to me. Created a space that was entirely mine. Marcus noticed none of it. He was too busy juggling his double life, too confident I'd never discover his secrets, too assured of my compliance. That was his fatal mistake, underestimating me. My professional life was flourishing in ways I'd forgotten were possible. The Modern Art Museum project was generating significant press. Architectural Digest wanted to feature it. I was being invited to speak at conferences. Headhunted by major firms in London and Shanghai. For the first time in years, I wasn't filtering my ambition through Marcus's comfort level. "This Singapore firm wants me to consult on a waterfront development," I mentioned over dinner in month 2 of my performance. 3 months on site. Huge fee. I watched his face carefully. The micro-expression of panic before he smoothed it into support. "That's amazing, Audrey. But 3 months? That's a long time to be away." "I know." I told them no. Relief flooded his features. "That's probably smart. The museum project needs you here anyway." But I'd already accepted. Start date: 2 weeks after I planned to serve divorce papers. I was building my exit strategy, brick by brick, lie by strategic lie. Marcus thought he was the only one playing chess. He didn't realize I'd been studying grandmasters. I chose the setting carefully. Our favorite restaurant, the one where he'd proposed 10 years ago. I made the reservation for a Saturday night in early October, exactly 4 months after Santorini. I wore the red dress he loved. Had my hair done. Looked, as he told me in the car, absolutely stunning. "What's the occasion?" he asked as we drove. "Not that I'm complaining. Just felt like celebrating us. We've been good lately, haven't we?" "Really good," he agreed, reaching for my hand. "I feel like we're in such a great place." The audacity of his lies was almost impressive. At dinner, I ordered champagne. We toasted to us, to the future, to 10 years and counting. I let him talk about his work, the Henderson account, his hopes for managing director next year. "I'm so proud of you," I said, and meant it in a way he wouldn't understand. I was proud of myself for what I was about to do. Dessert arrived. The waiter placed a small box next to my plate, the kind that might hold jewelry. Marcus looked confused. "Babe, did you order something special?" "Open it," I said. He did. Inside wasn't jewelry. It was a USB drive and a photo, the one from the Maldives, printed and laminated. The color drained from his face. "Audrey, the USB contains evidence of your affair with Sienna Martinez. Also your previous affairs with Rachel Dennison and Amber Chong. 14 months, 7 months, and 5 months respectively. There are hotel receipts, credit card statements, photographs, text message records, and witness testimonies, all meticulously documented and authenticated. His mouth opened, closed. He looked around the restaurant, as if the other diners might save him. This isn't. You told me you were in Tokyo for our anniversary. You were in the Maldives with your assistant, using money from our joint account, money I earned, to fund your romantic getaway. The total expenditure on your affairs over 4 years is $237,000. I have documentation of every cent. Audrey, please let me explain. Explain what? That you're a liar? A cheat? That our entire marriage has been a performance while you lived your real life somewhere else. People were starting to stare. The waiter hovered uncertainly near the kitchen. Marcus reached for my hand. I pulled it away. I love you, he said desperately. These things, they meant nothing. You're my wife. You're everything to me. I was never everything to you. I was convenient. I was the respectable wife for your career. The one who made you look stable and mature. The one who sacrificed her ambitions so you could chase yours. That's not true, isn't it? Name one time in the last 5 years you supported my career over yours. One time you made a sacrifice for me. He couldn't. His silence was damning. I stood, placing my napkin on the table with careful precision. Divorce papers will be served Monday morning. I'm citing adultery and financial misconduct. Given the evidence, my lawyer is confident we'll secure a settlement that reflects my contributions to our marriage and compensates me for your fraudulent use of marital assets. Audrey, wait. Please. Can't we talk about this? Go to counseling? I'll end it with Sienna. I'll do whatever you want. I looked at him, really looked at him, and felt absolutely nothing. Not anger, not love, not even hate, just a vast, peaceful emptiness where he used to live in my heart. The tragedy, Marcus, is that you probably believe that. You probably think you can fix this with the right words, the right promises. But here's what you don't understand. I don't want you to fix it. I don't want you at all. I want you out of my life so completely that in 5 years, when someone asks about my first marriage, I'll struggle to remember your last name. His face crumpled. You don't mean that. I've never meant anything more. I walked out of the restaurant into the October night, leaving him with the check, the evidence, and the ruins of his comfortable life. Behind me, I heard him call my name. I didn't turn around. The divorce was brutal but brief. Marcus tried to fight it first, then realized he had no ground to stand on. The evidence was overwhelming. The prenup we'd signed, the one his lawyer had insisted on when I was a starry-eyed 24-year-old, actually worked in my favor once we factored in his adultery and financial misconduct. I kept the brownstone. He'd wanted it desperately, had argued it was his home. But I'd put down more of the down payment, and the deed had both our names. With the adultery evidence, the judge saw no reason I should be the one displaced. I got half of his retirement accounts, investments, and savings. I kept my business entirely. He had to buy me out of the investment properties we'd purchased together at current market value, which had appreciated significantly. In the end, I walked away with $3.2 million in assets and settlements, my business, my reputation intact, and my freedom. Marcus kept his job, barely. The scandal rippled through his firm. Sienna was quietly let go, the sacrificial lamb. Last I heard, she was working at a competitor firm, dating someone new. She was 26. She'd recover. Marcus lost the promotion to managing director, lost his wife, lost the respectable image that had been so crucial to his success. I felt nothing about that either. The Singapore project was extraordinary. 3 months designing a waterfront development that would reshape the harbor. I worked 18-hour days, collaborated with brilliant architects from around the world, produced the best work of my career. I dated a marine engineer named David. It lasted 2 months, exactly as long as we both wanted it to. No pressure, no promises. Just 2 people enjoying each other's company without needing it to be forever. When I came back to New York in January, I barely recognized myself. My hair was longer, sun-streaked. I'd lost weight not from stress, but from morning runs along the Singapore harbor. I smiled more, laughed louder, took up space without apologizing. The museum project won design awards. Chun and Associates expanded, 2 new partners, an office in Los Angeles, projects in 4 countries. Leah noticed it first. "You're different," she said over brunch in my new apartment. "Not just happier. Different fundamentally." "I know," I said. "The woman who married Marcus at 24, she doesn't exist anymore. She died on a terrace in Santorini. This is who emerged from her ashes." That's very poetic. Also slightly terrifying. Good. I like being slightly terrifying. Turns out it's quite useful in contract negotiations. We laughed, but there was truth in it. I'd stopped being agreeable. Started asking for exactly what I wanted. Stopped making myself smaller to make others comfortable. It was liberating. 1 year later, I returned to Santorini in June, exactly 1 year after everything changed. Booked the same villa. Brought Leah this time. We stood on the terrace at sunset, champagne flutes raised. "To the year you became someone else," Leah toasted. "To the year I became myself," I corrected. The sunset was just as spectacular as I remembered. But this time, I wasn't watching it with heartbreak and champagne. I was watching it with my best friend, celebrating survival and transformation and the beautiful violence of becoming. My phone buzzed. A text from Marcus. He still tried occasionally every few months. Messages that swung between apologetic and angry, never quite finding a tone that might move me. "I saw you won another design award. Congratulations. I always knew you were talented. I hope you're happy, Audrey. I hope this is what you wanted." I deleted it without responding. Not out of anger, just indifference. He was a chapter in a book I'd already finished reading. Leah watched me. Was it him? "Does it matter?" She smiled. "Not even a little bit." We clinked glasses and drank, watching the sun paint the sky in shades of orange and gold and defiant pink. The honeymoon couple on the neighboring terrace waved at us. We waved back. "You know what I realized?" I said. "That day when I found out, when everything exploded, part of me thought it was the end of my life. The end of who I was. And it was. But endings aren't always tragedies. Sometimes they're exactly what you need to become who you were always supposed to be." The sun slipped below the horizon, and night rushed in to fill the empty space. But it wasn't darkness. It was full of stars. 2 years after Santorini, Chun and Associates was featured in the New York Times as one of the most innovative architecture firms in the country. I was 46, running a company with 70 employees, working on projects across 3 continents. I dated occasionally. Nothing serious. Maybe someday, maybe never. I wasn't looking for someone to complete me anymore. I was already complete. My apartment in Tribeca had a wall of windows overlooking the Hudson River. On Sunday mornings, I'd make coffee and stand there, watching the light change across the water, and feel something I'd never quite experienced before, contentment with my own company. Marcus got remarried, someone from his gym, I heard through mutual friends. I didn't attend the wedding. Didn't send a gift. Didn't think about it beyond a passing good for him and genuine hope that he'd learn something. I learned that betrayal isn't the worst thing that can happen to you. Sometimes it's the catalyst you need to stop betraying yourself. The museum opened to rave reviews. My design was called A Conversation Between Strength and Vulnerability, Structure and Space. Standing at the opening, surrounded by people celebrating my work, I thought about the woman I'd been. Always shrinking, always accommodating, always making herself smaller. She would have been proud of this version. The one who took up space unapologetically. Who built skylines and rebuilt herself with equal determination. Leah found me on the museum steps, handed me champagne. "To transformations," she said. "To the year that changed everything," I agreed. But privately, I knew the truth. It wasn't the year that changed everything. It was me. I'd changed myself, piece by piece, decision by decision, until I'd become someone I actually wanted to be. The luxury villa in Santorini had been booked for a love story. Instead, it became the setting for a different kind of love story. The The one where you learn to love yourself enough to walk away from anything that makes you smaller. Marcus left me off our anniversary trip, thinking he was choosing something better. He had no idea he was setting me free. And that freedom? That became the foundation for everything else. A career without compromise. Relationships without settling. A life built exactly to my specifications, not filtered through someone else's comfort or approval. The woman I am now would thank him if we ever spoke. But we don't. And that's perfect too. Because this story, my story, isn't about him anymore. It never really was. It's about the moment you stop being who others need you to be and start becoming who you were always meant to be. It's about standing on a terrace in Santorini, watching your life explode, and deciding the explosion is just clearing space for something better. It's about the year you become someone else, and discovering that someone else was actually you all along.
And that wraps up today's story. Now we want to hear from you. Where are you watching from? Drop your city or country in the comments, and let's see how far these stories reach. If this story moved you or gave you chills, give it a like, share, and subscribe for more powerful stories. One last thing, rate the story from 1 to 10 in the comments. Your feedback helps us bring you even better ones next time. Thanks for watching. We appreciate you being part of this storytelling journey.